Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. A day late, but a dollar richer. Sorry for the delay in getting the deep dive up to you people, but we appreciate your support. We hope you are all doing well in these cold winter months as the daylight leaves us. And
it was the epic of darkness.
Yeah, people are dealing with the cold and flu season. I've been traveling. That was the reason we weren't live yesterday. And travel disruptions, by the way, are coming. The issues for me tonight, issues for me Sunday, issues for me Monday. For Monday, I think I'll be fine. But a lot going on right now. And this is just the beginning because holiday season is approaching. So
it's the holiday season.
Yeah.
So whoop-de-doo and skeedle-dee-dee. And yes, it is Euro season time. Skyfish does not get to join us that often, but when we do them this early, I'm guessing it's about 6 p.m. where Mr. Skyfish is hanging out, and it is brown liquor.
Pilati, also correct. It is brown liquor season.
I was my mom got me a whiskey for Christmas last year. Horrible. I don't have the heart. She's not a listener. It's fine. It's awful. It's made in Minnesota. I won't shit on this brand, but like
just bathtub crap.
Yeah, whiskey should probably be made in the Appalachians. Like stick to Kentucky, Tennessee. It's horrid. But I've been
there's good stuff from like Vermont and New York. Anyway,
this one isn't good. But I've been under the weather, so I make a hot toddy when I'm sick, which is just a good tea, a dark tea, usually just black pico or whatever.
Yep.
And then honey, lemon juice, fresh squeezed if you have it, and then whiskey. So that's like the perfect use for that. It's just my sick whiskey now. So I don't get sick that often, but it should go in the medicine cabinet at this point.
Okay, well, we were going to try to keep this one tight just so everybody can get on with their days. Where should we start? Should we start with the geopolitical impacts of trading Brittany Griner for the Lord of War, or do you want to go right into sort of the Georgia runoff and how that impacts the markets for the 2024 election? Where should we start here?
Yeah, so as it turns if this terrorist that we traded back, if he turns out to be like Nick Cage from Lord of War, I'm worried. If he turns out to be like Miles Teller from War Dogs, less worried. But we're not going to get about this. It's like a fucked up deal, like geopolitical stuff. We're not into that. We're into
that was a poor joke. Let's get right into football.
Instead of that, we're gonna get into a game that I wanted to bet, and this is right off the top. I don't think I can bet this game considering what they're going to be doing, because I like John Wolford. I think he does some amazing things for a backup. I think he brings a pretty good game to a team that has a bad offensive line, but he's a little scrambly. Has missing their best offensive weapon in Cooper Kupp. He's not bad. He's
Wolford.
not horrible. Yeah, Wolford's not bad.
Do you know if he's for sure going to be the guy?
No, they don't. They are,
yeah, right.
They don't know. They don't know what's going to happen. They're going to try him out before the game, and if he's not good to go, they are going to start Baker Mayfield, who's been with the team for like 60 hours. Like, no chance I want to have a Rams ticket if a guy who just got to town, had to learn the system, is going to be running this offense. Randy Mitchell talking the same thing. So maybe this is a spot where I will take some Rams live if it is Wolford getting a go. But for right now,
you don't want a gunslinger slaying guns?
Oh my God.
Staying on theme with arms dealer talk.
I think I could get behind Baker if he had more time to prep. He's probably an upgrade, in certain aspects, just with his experience. But no, man, like the fact that he is getting to town and has no practice time with this team makes me super scared. So this total probably about right. But yeah, I want Rams with Wolford. I'm gonna wait till we get to the game and bet it live, I think.
Okay, I've been leaning Raiders here, so maybe I'll just skip this one.
Tell me why.
Because I think there's a pretty broad there's a decent game state here where Raiders get a comfortable lead in the first half because they're playing for something, and Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs are absolutely clicking right now. Derek Carr, offensive line, everybody's kind of knows their roles and responsibilities in the Josh McDaniels system, and they're in general just playing well. And the Rams defense is awful. I thought they played up last week, and they still conceded 27 in a game that they were competitive. Raiders, I think, can get a healthy lead and then just put this one away, put this one to bed.
Yeah, Raiders with a healthy lead, putting it to bed. I think they're the only team to ever blow 3 17-point leads in the same year.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's,
so they got them all out of their system, Andy. They got them all out of their system.
No, but I mean,
I think the second half under is really where I'm interested here.
Yeah, for real, Josh Jacobs should continue to eat. This is a team he can run against. Devontae Adams against a good corner for once. Maybe that's a fun matchup, but unless Bobby Wagner has something against the Raiders and he has a good pump-up speech again, I'm not so sure. I'm very excited about this position. I just think it's too big of a number at home. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Good reason to skip then. You think the Raiders are still alive, by the way, for a wild card? Any interest in betting them at 10-1 to make the playoffs? You're out.
Yeah, they're very inconsistent.
They got a sweep.
They're gonna. I feel like they're gonna win games they shouldn't, and then lose a horrible game they should.
Like this one,
just it's like the Colts losing to the Jags at the end of the season that one year. They're gonna have one of those games.
Yeah, well, they've already played the Broncos twice, so it's not going to be them. Actually, their whole schedule is just ridiculously tough. Rams is probably the winningest, the most likely win on the rest of the way for them. They got Patriots, Steelers, Niners, Chiefs. So yeah, Raiders probably stick a fork in them. Wow. Okay. Let's move on to Sunday, where we have a fascinating market and lots of people in the betting space just really trying to break down the nature of the trap that Vegas has set for the common bettor here. Andy, is this like one of those easy to spot traps, like the box with the stick and the cheese under it? Or is this more like just like one of the tiger pit traps that's covered in on the forest floor, and you just really don't see it coming and you fall into the pit?
I'd say it's probably more like the traps that was it Ice-T and Surviving the Game was setting for the guys that were hunting him.
Yeah.
Remember when he lit the cigarette, so they thought he was over there smoking, and then I think he plugged up the exhaust system of one of their four-wheelers and blew one guy up. It's kind of a really good game, surviving the game.
To me, this is more like the data booty traps in Goonies. Like you see this is obvious. It's silly.
Slick shoes.
Yeah. Slick shoes and the firecrackers. Yeah. All right, that was a good callback. I hadn't thought of that movie a long time.
No, I had a buddy who was obsessed with that movie.
We make jokes, but the reality is anyone who has watched enough football and has broken down the numbers in a detailed fashion knows that these are two teams that the margins are very, very narrow. There is not a lot separating them. Either of these teams has a good day, they win this game. Either of these teams has a bad day, they lose. And the reality is this is probably decided in the late stages by whoever has the ball last, because there's not likely going to be a ton of defense in this one. That was the way it played out the last time these two teams played. That is what I would expect the way it plays out this time. Lions as a -1.5 or +1.5 doesn't really faze me much either way. There's not enough betting value there to get involved on either side here. I looked hard at this total though.
I made
51.5, a little low. Tell me about it.
I am in the same boat as you. I think this total's a little low, and the Vikings' defensive luck maybe runs out a little. Like, you're not going to hold a team 1 for 6 in the red zone repeatedly. I ended up playing some Lions team total over 27 flat.
Okay.
It's been a run here for Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been great. It's another secondary he should be able to beat up. And legitimately, Goff has been okay during these last few weeks.
Yeah.
And
Ross St. Brown is a bona fide wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he's remember I brought up the fact that, hey, I checked and I have a fantasy team that's good. It's because he's on it. Like I have him and AJ Brown. Like so last week was just a thunder fucking of whoever I played. So I need him to continue to play good for the next 4 weeks, I guess. So I don't because the more money I win, the fewer Venmo payments I have to send out to other people. It's easy that way.
Everyone looks at their fantasy football through that lens.
Yeah, well, I'm the commissioner, baby. But yeah, I do like this offense to peak. I think this game is an over game. I think this lands in the kind of the low to mid 50s an awful lot. 50, it should probably be like 53. And yeah, I like this Lions offense. This is a great matchup at home. Swift has been getting a little healthier. They should be able to run the ball as well. Minnesota hasn't been able to stop much of anything. So a little over 27 for me. And I guess if it were just a Lions rout, like 28-0 right away, I wouldn't mind either.
Okay, so this is clear end pointing. I know this. I'm end pointing with eyes wide open here, but it's still a 6-game sample. Passing EPA per play, Andy, drop back EPA per play on a team level. The Lions rank where weeks 8 through 13. That is the last 6 games.
Number 3.
They are number 1. They are the best EPA per play passing offense. Better than the Cowboys, better than the Dolphins, better than the Chiefs, better than the Bengals. The Lions are your best passing offense in football right now.
So,
wow.
What kept, and I've mentioned it already, but what kept the Vikings from losing that game last week?
Dan Campbell. I thought you meant the first time.
The Jets Vikings, yeah.
The Vikings did not lose the game because they had red zone positive variance in the red zone at the end.
Who's the number 1 team in the red zone this year?
Is it the Lions?
It's the fucking Lions.
Oh, maybe are we talking ourselves into the Lions?
Are we talking ourselves into a Lions Super Bowl ticket? They can still win this division.
Well, the Lions playoff, yes, is plus 750, and I've been staring at it.
Not only have they 73, almost 74% of their red zone possessions have been touchdowns over the last 3 games. It's 85. Like they are peaking. Your Detroit Lions. It'll be fun to see if this comes to fruition. But that is why I do like that team total over.
Can Dan Campbell run down Nick Sirianni for Coach of the Year? People are asking.
No one's asking that. All right, moving on.
Jets Bills. The aforementioned Jets, who could not get a win in Minnesota, even though they were the better team, I think. Take the white-hot offense, the white-hot offensive rookie of the year. If you don't have a ticket, get one. Garrett Wilson to Buffalo. And they're 9.5-point dogs. This is a big number in division. It's an especially big number considering the last time these two teams played at relative similar strength. Jets won outright, and they did so convincingly. That was, of course, the game where Josh Allen was under duress for a lot of the game, ultimately got hurt at the end with the UCL sprain. And, oh, by the way, that was a game where Zach Wilson was putrid, and they still won. If Mike White goes to Buffalo and is competent, are the Jets live, Andy?
Maybe. We bet this over, and the market disagreed with us.
Yeah, so I still don't understand that.
I also don't.
I figured it was weather. Like I was going to wake up and check the weather and be like, oh, cool, 30 miles an hour.
Yeah,
but
so
no.
I also, same thing. I checked the weather. Looks like it's going to be fine. I guess the Jets defense has been stout, but at the same time, when the Vikings needed a drive late to extend the lead a little, they didn't look that good. And this is a offense that doesn't like to run the ball nearly as much, but through the air, they've been pretty effective, and Josh Allen with his legs has been effective. And they're also saying the Bills are – it doesn't jive with me. The Bills can't be a 10-point favorite, and the total's moving down because of the Jets' defense. Those two things are counterintuitive. So you're saying that the Bills' defense is maybe why this total's lower. That the Mike White pumpkin game is finally coming. I mentioned this, Mike White, I said he's not going to turn into a shit pumpkin versus the Vikings. It's a bad secondary. Bills starting to get a little healthier, but it's still a secondary that's been beat a few times. Like, I don't know if this is his full pumpkin game yet. So I think the Jets are live to score 17 to 20 points here. Like this game getting to 50 doesn't seem silly, but as Randy Mitchell points out, and I was going to bring up eventually as my, devil's avocado this was White stinker last season, 4-pick game versus the Bills. Lipscomb brings it up as well. Yeah. And then he got benched. So it's still a tough road game for a shitty quarterback.
Andy, this is endpointing. I know that. But it's a 6-game sample. So I think it's fair. Where do the Bills defense rank in drop back EPA per play over the last 6 weeks? So week 8 through 13.
26th.
28th out of 32. The only teams that are worse than the Bills are the Raiders, the Rams, the Jags, and the Bears. So the Bills have not. The Bills have not been playing good pass defense. I think some of that is the injuries that they've had to deal with in the secondary. Granted, Trey White he came back. He's getting healthier. They held the Patriots to 10. They held the Patriots underwater last week. Patriots only scored 10 points, but I blame Matt Patricia for that mostly, as opposed to giving Les Frazier a ton of credit. Before that, they were giving up decent amount of points to the Lions and the Browns and the Vikings and the Jets, so this is an interesting one. Garrett Wilson is clearly hot right now, and to the degree he to the degree he elevates White much more so than the cast of characters that White was playing with last year, I think is worth kind of keeping an eye on. And I don't think it's fair to point to anything Mike White did last year in the negative sense and say, well, this is proof that it's coming this year, just because he's had another year working with Mike LaFleur and developing as a quarterback. He's gotten a lot of practice reps the last couple of weeks. I'm not ready to walk away from him as being, a competent quarterback, particularly in this matchup. So I'm feeling very good still about the over position enough to get, to double dip here at a 43.5. If this is ultimately a divisional, closely contested stinker of a football game, so be it. But I think you're looking at two offenses that can score here.
Yeah. Sorry, my brains. I took all the medicine in the cabinet this morning.
Yeah, I think the Bills ultimately get a win, but I think it's going to be like a touchdown. That's.
I agree, though.
I'm glad you took the medicine at least.
I'm not scared off by the.
Yeah.
One of it was kids cough medicine, so I figure I'm bigger than a kid, so I just took twice as much.
Yeah.
I'm not
like kids stuck to stuff is stronger sometimes.
I'm not a doctor.
Baltimore-Pittsburgh, a game where I don't think we would expect to see offensive explosion. This is one where I kicked myself pretty hard.
Because you've been talking about it for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Can't wait to bet the Steelers. They match up great against the Ravens. I still feel that way. The fact that I can get a 3.5, I think, is the bet. Tyler Huntley, I don't know how you pronounce it, however you pronounce it. He ain't Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is an absolute monster in every semblance of the concept. And you downgrade your offense to the degree that we saw Hundley operate this offense with last year, and the degradation of the weapons around him, even from last year to this year. And I think this is a team that is going to struggle mightily against a Steelers front seven that should dictate this game. Now, TJ Watt has not been himself. He has not been playing to the level of defensive player of the year that we saw last year in his return from the pec injury. I don't think that ultimately he's just going to show up and be, just an absolute singular force in this one, but that's not really the point. The rest of the D line for the Steelers is healthy and playing great. And really the only way to beat the Steelers is with dynamic weapons in the passing game with awesome wide receiver play. And the Ravens just do not have it. So Steelers defense, I think, is going to be very, very, this is going to be the dictating force in this game. And, if the Ravens, there's one thing they struggle with, the coverage should be good, right? Like the safeties in the corners should have a nice day going up against a rookie quarterback in Kenny Pickett. But Pickett's got a couple of weapons to work with here. I think they can find enough to kind of, to get on the scoreboard, field goals, maybe a touchdown. I feel like 20 points probably wins this game. Actually, totals 36.5. So 20 points obviously wins this game. And Steelers can get there. Are you interested in laying 2.5 with Kenny Pickett in division at home?
Not a ton. I wanted this earlier. Same as you. This is probably it's such a nice long position too.
Oh boy, is it ever.
The total's so low, and you get the Ravens at like 8.5. Yeah, I'm probably gonna end up putting this in some teasers. But at the same time, then you have Tyler Huntley. Like some mistakes by him can really, when I start to look at the lens of how I view a teaser as far as the quality of that leg, I like a quarterback who isn't like Baker Mayfield when he's hurt and dumb. And I like a defense who isn't shitty, because a shitty defense late is not what you need to keep it close. So I don't love it as a teaser leg because of the backup quarterback, but Christ almighty, this total's low. So, yeah, I'd lean Steelers here. Pickett's looked a little more competent. He's looking more competent and confident, and I think some of that has to do with the game state. When they turn into a team that's behind by multiple scores, he's come out and said it. Like, I'm going to throw high-risk passes because what do we have to lose? Like, we're behind by 14. We need to win. And when they're not, he's actually a nice little, I don't want to say dink and dunk, because he has a decent enough deep ball. That one pass to Pickens was great, even though Pickens pushed off. Like, he's been okay. So, yeah, I definitely lean Steelers here.
Okay. Interesting wrinkle. We'll give Sam credit here. He's got tie fever. This does have all of the makings of a tie. I don't know if you know this, Andy, but Ravens and Steelers, there's no love lost between these teams.
You can throw out the records.
Yes,
for sure.
You throw out the records. That's right. So 0-0-1 coming out of this game for both of these teams seems plausible.
Maybe Steelers draw no bet.
BTTS no is in the cards. This is,
you see my joke about the goddamn Spanish game?
What did you say?
I bet both teams to score in both matches that day. And thank God.
And you almost got it with the penalty kicks.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even get it in penalties. Obviously I know that's not how that cashes, but it's hilarious that I bet both teams to score, and Spain didn't even score in the guy.
You know what was funny is I was in a bad. I lost a bunch
penalties.
of money. I lost a bunch of money thanks to that outcome. So I wasn't really in the joking mood, but I did when it went to extra time. I was queued up to reply to your tweet about both teams to score and be like, after it got to penalty kicks, I was gonna be like, yeah, wait, why is this greater to loser? Because I'm sure some people are probably like, wait, they got what this went to get, they both scored. I don't understand. Some people probably would have been confused. Anyway,
it's fun to rile up the hardos too.
Oh yeah, I love that is fun. People who are like betting soccer regularly do not like that there is a whole bunch of new people betting soccer. But guess what? It happens every 4 years. Get fucking used to it.
Yes, and again, we have an Irishman. You're welcome to the folks in the European nations. I was going to say EU. I don't know who's in the EU. I know people are always coming and going.
Yeah, there was a Brexit recently.
It was Brexited, but
yeah. Either way, let's
afternoon delight.
That's confusing. I thought I was getting an ad or something.
That was an ad. Yeah, it's our afternoon episode. So
you want a great holiday rec, by the way? Like people are injured, like you watch old TV episodes that are like good holiday TV episodes. The Arrested Development episode called Afternoon Delight is worth revisiting around Christmas.
Yeah.
It's not my fault you didn't get up and drive out at 6 a.m. and drive out to Tarzana to get the banana suit. There is some unbelievably funny shit in that episode. Arrested Development is just, it holds up all these years later, regardless. And
my favorite
Jessica
comedy
Walters.
series.
Oh, definitely. definitely. The afternoon delight is so good, though. It's so good.
That was my
It's so
Jessica
good.
Walters wink.
That was good. That was good. She definitely does it in that one too, because they take her. They have her spirits at some point at the Christmas party. I don't know. Anyway, great.
I
great
can't think of the
episode.
name of the private detective, Gene Parmesan.
Gene Parmesan. Yep.
Every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
All right, on to
Philly
it's a
Giants. We're keeping it
teaser
tight.
leg. Philly Giants.
Yeah.
I bet the Eagles.
Okay. What number did you get?
Some bad number.
Oh, really? You laid 7.
I laid 705.
Okay. I mean, this is kind of like the Rams Raiders handicap a little in my mind. Like an Eagles, if they can generate a lead in this one, then this is a second half under all the live long day. The Eagles last week was the referendum. They passed every test. In theory, you should upgrade them based on the proof that they provided, but
a lot of mine's matchup based.
Okay,
so
let me hear it.
I don't make this number that much bigger, but what I saw from them, and I guess it just took a couple weeks for things to hash out because they brought in some new faces along that front four.
Mm-hmm.
But if the if the rush defense is going to play like that, Saquon is one of those guys where he has a bit of the boom or bust. I don't think he's going to boom against this rush defense because not only are they getting guys in the backfield, hitting running backs early, getting penetration. I don't even think it's run blitzing. It's just straight penetration off regular kind of base D.
Sure.
If that's how that looks, he's going to have a bad game. And if he has a bad game, they have the coverage, they have the coverages, they have the blitzes to make Danny Jones have a bad game.
Yes.
And I really, really hate the Giants' offensive matchup here. Like, I don't think the Eagles are going to just blow them away with their, Hurts and A.J. Brown just, go off for 35 again. I don't think they have to in this one. I think this is a favorite under kind of game.
So that was actually where I was going to go with my entire handicap, which is I kind of like I wanted to take the Giants at 7. I was looking at it, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, God, how are these guys going to fucking score? And then I'm like, wait, why is this total 45.5? That's a big old number. And I mean, the Eagles taking the air out of this one with a decent lead after first half seems like 50% of the game states. I mean, it's a 7. They're expected to win by over by a touchdown here. So, this one being a one way, Eagles and under is not crazy to me. And Jalen Hurts, he had the game of his life last week. It wasn't the game of his life, but it was the best game of his career to this point. And I think a lot of that was on the basis of the matchup and what they asked him to do, and everybody playing up to their top, the top of their level. That generally doesn't happen 2 weeks in a row. And I think the Eagles tack hard back into a running attack this week. I don't think you want to really expose Jalen Hurts to some blitzing and some opportunities for turnovers. I think you want to keep this, you keep it in front of you. I think that's the general approach here. Under is the bet in my mind.
Yeah. Don't hate it. So
right.
I bet the Eagles here though.
I'm in 45.5. Anything over 44 is good. All right, let's go. 44 is my fair. That's what I should say.
Okay.
Cleveland, Cincinnati. I don't
think we got a fair. Yeah, we didn't get a real fair look at Deshaun Watson because that game was so fucking weird. With
I know there were masseuses in the skybox, and there were
we didn't
all
have
kinds
to,
of weird shit
none
going
of that.
on.
We didn't have to ask much of the offense as every other phase.
There was some weird shit in that game.
It was a weird game. You look at that fight. I mean, they scored 3 touchdowns, none of them offensive.
They were offensive.
They were offensive, but I mean the Texans are offensive. That is a bad team.
Oh yeah,
that is a rough team. So. Yeah, the Bengals did get an upgrade. Some of that maybe not warranted. They've kind of had the Chiefs' numbers now. It's weird how they always seem. It doesn't even matter if they're down late. They do seem to have the Chiefs' numbers. I think this is a little too big. I would lean the Browns at this point, but I still
Yes.
can't bet it. Just not understanding, because Watson did look shitty. Like, he looked pretty rough. He looked rusty. He threw a bad pick, and I'm not going to back that.
I agree with you. That's ultimately why I didn't play this game either, even though 6.5 is not my fair price.
Yeah.
There was a big reaction in the market to the Bengals winning a game that they needed to win against a team that they have good matchups against. Is that worth upgrading them 3 points? No. Is some of the swing Browns are a little less than we thought they would be because Deshaun Watson doesn't look great? Yeah. I still think, though, that this is a very decent sell high-ish on the Bengals. 6.5. I mean, in division, good matchups for the Browns. You don't even need to look that hard to find, evidence that the Browns match up well against the Bengals. I dare you to find evidence to the contrary. That's not out there that the Bengals match up well against the Browns. Browns defense is a little sus, obviously, but as you would remember when I was chronicling the last 6 weeks of football, the Browns pass defense is no longer in the bottom 5. I don't really know what happened to swing this defense from atrocious to decent over the balance of the season, but they were top 10 in pass defense statistics, which is kind of crazy. They still give up the run way more than they ought to, but that kind of plays into a lower scoring, closer game also, because if there's one thing you want, if you are fading the Bengals, it is Zach Taylor excited to run the football. Like, that's kind of the one. That takes a lot of the air out of this game. I think potentially, and yeah, it may work. But this looks like a decent under. What would Gil? Great question. What would this number be with Brissett? 4? You think the market would? You think the market? I think the market would give you the exact same price, but I think my number would be
4.5.
4.5. Yeah.
And apologies. Yeah, this is down to 5.5 most places.
Oh, is it? Oh, that moved today then.
Yeah, I'm guessing Dan made these graphics
last night when we were expecting to do it at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, then we just canceled on him. Said fuck it.
Okay, let's talk about the market dynamics here then, because
it's not that much different.
This time yesterday, this was sitting at a 6.5, and you could have gotten 6.5 at -113 was the best price you could have got. 3 days ago, it was a flat 6.5, but 6.5 -113, and that has been one-way traffic now across 6. That's a big move, and I don't think that there was any injury news that really supported this, was there?
Haven't seen anything.
Okay, so maybe the injury news was Mixon's going to go.
Yeah, Jesus. Truthfully, that's kind of where it's trending. I think he's trending towards being closer to being ready.
Yeah.
Which is bad for this team. I don't care about betting this game. This is not what I want to bet.
Yeah.
I want the Bengals to win. I want the Steelers to win. And okay, so Dan says it did move pretty recently.
Okay.
But, so this is taking some Browns money.
We're in the steam hive.
Mixon must have said he's good to go.
FanDuel is just correcting to market maker price because this moved from 6.5 to 5.5 ish. Last night after we would have normally recorded the pod. Okay. Well, Mixon's out of concussion protocol, which means this being a lower scoring game is on the table in my mind. The Bengals can still be attacked with passing attack, but you need elite weapons. You need more than one. Browns don't have that. Watson hasn't shown to have any chemistry with these guys. He hasn't gotten enough reps, I don't think, to really warrant being scared of his abilities. So I kind of want to bet an under here, but a little conscientious of this.
When Brian says something, you listen.
Yeah.
This is the guy that runs the notifications for Fantasy Life app.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
Brian, we appreciate you. Yeah, so I passed this one, but I agree with the market move. I think yeah, the weather
I think I might get in on
going
this
to
live.
be what? Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I'd like to see the weather surely.
Right
now it looks nice. I'd like to see if we could get. I want us to get past the scripted portion because I feel like you could end up with like 7-7 after the first 2 drives here, and at that point, I think the live under is going to be my look. All right, let's move on.
Second half of this.
Another divisional one. And this one.
Oh man, is this the Thursday night game? Did I wake up on week 3 Thursday night?
This is the Color Rush mustard yellow versus Titan baby blue. You remember those Thursday night Color Rush games? We got them every single year.
The mustard. They really pushed Color Rush on us.
They really did.
What was their agenda? I need to make a YouTube video about the oh shit, your weed whippers out there. Getting the lawn mowed. Drew has 7 people he hires for his grounds crew. He has a botanist, a gardener, a weed whip guy, the pool guy, the skimmer, the surfboard wax guy,
the leaf blower
guy. Yeah, and this is a little worrisome as well. Speaking of injuries, Trevor Lawrence's status maybe is up in the air. That makes a big difference. And I know everyone's not super keen on him, and he's had a bit of an uneven year, to put it lightly, but him being out matters a ton on a road game. It might just be Titans. It might be Titans by a bunch if that's the case. I don't know. This is a Jags team I'm kind of putting in the same category as the Raiders, where I know where the market has them. I know where I have them. It's similar to where the market is. I'm not in too big of a disagreement there. But at the same time, they've been so wildly inconsistent, and now they play a divisional foe on the road that I don't want to take this 3.5 that I'm showing as having some slight value.
Yeah, I wanted to take the points, and I am out of this game, out of this conversation entirely, which means, but I would like to point out 2 things. First is the T-Law I would expect goes. Everybody was shocked and confused that he came back into the game against the Lions after the shot he took. Everybody, I believe, expected it was going to be a knee injury. And then when Doug Peterson took the stand and said T-Law's status is up in the air, everybody was like, okay, that makes sense. He got hit. He got banged. Yeah, that knee injury looked bad because of his big toe sprain.
That was my when it didn't turn out. Yeah, when it didn't turn out that his knee had ripped up multiple tendons.
Yeah,
I just assumed for sure it was like, all right, it's a bad bone bruise on the knee.
Yes, exactly.
Like, nah, it's like turf toe. What?
What?
Yeah.
So did he do that when he was scrambling after he came back into the game as well? I really don't understand. Let's this is much more fired. This is much more what I want to talk about. I have very complicated feelings about this.
Do you think it was just AJ Brown coming into town and fucking you up?
I think that made the owner upset.
That didn't help.
And I think that Vrabel has gotten increasingly more control over the franchise because I muted myself because we're mowing lawns now here.
This is what happens when we hang out in the afternoon, guys. Like, we love you Europeans.
So complicated feelings, and I'll do my best to sort of try to keep this brief. The Titans, I still believe, or at least the front office, I believe, recognized that Tannehill was not ever going to win them a Super Bowl. And so they made decisions this offseason accordingly to pivot to, on the fly, we are going to, we'll compete this year and we will move off of Tannehill because the evidence is very straightforward. They could have extended him a year. They could have pushed his contract into the future. And in doing so, they could have had more than enough money to keep AJ Brown intact. They could have spent their draft capital, get another wide receiver, and they could have revamped the offense on the fly. Instead, they basically elected to decrease the talent on the team and take their medicine on the Tannehill contract. That happens rarely, but when it does, it's like, oh, cool. This front office is eyes wide open about their chances. I don't think that sat well with Vrabel. I think it's potentially that they didn't review this decision making with ownership. And I think the fact that the AFC South has been as bad as it has been, and that they are, were in control of their playoff destiny, even despite having a bad team this year, put Robinson on the hot seat. I would expect the brain trust that they had in place with Robinson, I would have believed in to turn this team into a very, very long-term viable contender. The pivot to now Vrabel having personnel control, I'm out. Like this, I go from healthy respect for where you are as an organization and being rational about your likelihood of winning a championship to now they're going to do some dumb shit. This is now you're potentially going to relive the Bill O'Brien experience in Houston. He's going to make terrible decisions, give up lots of future equity for players that probably aren't worth it. They may stick with Ryan Tannehill because he's a winner and he's winning. Not that he is going to, in any way, shape, or form, have you competitive against the likes of the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, maybe even the Jaguars in the next couple of years. So this was bad long-term for the Titans, I think. And I mean, I feel like all of the pieces are very clear here. Andy, you're muted, but is there anything about that sort of monologue that you take exception to?
Not really. Like, for the most part, there hasn't been a long history of giving coaches this much power as a GM. It's usually after a long bit of success or Belichick has a lot to say about what happens up there. He's earned that. Like, there's been even cases where, I think McCarthy, when he was with Green Bay, he worked pretty much it's like they had a couple of GMs. Like, this has happened. But when it happens with a coach like O'Brien, I like Vrabel a lot more. I think it's really unfair to put Vrabel anywhere near Bill O'Brien, dude. That's fucking hurtful, Drew. Vrabel's a much, much better coach. What he's been able to do with this team, basically without having a franchise quarterback forever. He's gotten some 1 seeds. He's taken this team to some playoff wins. I feel like Vrabel deserves a little more love as a coach.
You've given me some.
I'm still not. I'm not in on him as a GM.
You've given me some homework, man.
What says that you should give this guy this kind of power over the future of the franchise? It's the same reason we see these guys who are hey, Dan Quinn, you're a really good defensive coordinator. Maybe you should be a good head coach. And it turns out that's not the case. We have guys where it's hey, this is where your journey should stop. And you're very good at this. And it's the same kind of thing with some of these coaches. They might not be great at, constructing a future roster. So time will tell, but I'm with you. I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay. So in Bill O'Brien's first 3 seasons, he was 9-7, 9-7, 9-7. He went to the playoffs twice, won the division twice.
Good quarterback.
Excuse me? We're talking 2014, 2015, 2016.
Okay.
These were the I think one of these years it was TJ Yates taking snaps in the playoff game. And I think Bill O'Brien won a playoff game with TJ Yates under center, which is still insane. I don't think that their win-loss over their first kind of full handful of seasons is all of that different. Bill O'Brien had the 4-12 year, which allowed them to draft Watson, and then they go 11-5, 10-6. I don't think the parallels are all that different, and I don't think that anyone as a kind of a personnel, I don't think anyone as a coach who's a rah-rah, get the best out of your players, kind of get them to play up, that kind of a football guy is going to make a good personnel guy. So the fact that Vrabel potentially is dancing.
Oh, I
with
agree with
having-
that. I agree with that point.
Yeah,
He just it's not a good idea.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
And I'm not
Yeah.
betting this game.
yeah. Not betting this game, but my future outlook of the Titans took a hit this week. And if they get a good personnel guy in there, like a Kwesi or the who's the guy that the Giants hired, or Joe Douglas, who can evaluate draft talent, apparently, if they get a guy, Joe Shane, whatever, I can never pronounce his name right. If they get a guy like that as their personnel guy to replace Robinson, that was an upgrade, because Robinson was not great at evaluating talent. He made a lot of terrible draft choices, but he does have a very, very good nucleus of defensive players in place. They just need to figure out what to do with the quarterback position moving forward. And, I think if the next guy sticks with Tannehill, then Titans move into irrelevance. If the next guy finds and, takes some swings in the draft, tries to get some good young players, then, we have a different discussion on our hands. But all that said, very exciting.
And also, it does not seem like Treylon Burks will play. I think he's still in concussion protocol, which sucks, because he's been kind of a fun, bright spot. I think he is very live to be a very big piece of a fun offense next year if they figure a few things out. Oh. Houston, Dallas.
Speaking of the Texans,
they went back to Davis Mills, which had me opening a sports book, clicking on 17, and thinking long and hard about betting Davis Mills. In the long run, I just couldn't quite do it. It's probably the right side. The Texans are not a good team, but they were better with Davis Mills. He's not a good quarterback. And some of the things too, with one of the receivers wasn't practicing. There's too much going on in Texans to even take this many points. Cowboys have played very good on both sides of the ball. Cowboys look sharp right now.
They do.
And nobody should be a 17-point favorite in the NFL this year. But if Cooks and Nico Collins, if either of them doesn't play, it might not matter which quarterback is in. You can basically just cue in on Pierce, say we're going to take away the running game, make Davis Mills, who's your 30th best starting quarterback, make him try to throw against a decent to good secondary with backup, wide receivers. Yeah, and some tease Houston through the 21 days. He just brought on a coughing attack for me.
It's not an EV leg.
No, the 21's key. Yeah, and that was the other thing too. Is is this a coast game? Do you really bring out your good stuff for this game?
Yes, absolutely. It's a coast game. Cowboys should coast. They should keep everybody healthy. I'd rather see Cooper Rush than Dak Prescott in the second half. Tell you that much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know what the Texans are. I know Kyle Allen sucks. I know that Lovie Smith is not the long-term answer. I don't even know what the bright spots on this team or on this roster are. Some of the play you've gotten from Petrie has been exciting this year. That looks like a decent draft pick. We haven't seen nearly enough Stingley to tell one way or the other if he's going to make it. And then the front seven of this Texans defense is horrific. They suck at stopping the run, which means that the Dallas Cowboys can run their way to victory and run off the clock in the second half. Total 44.5 is probably too low. This has the potential to be a 28-3 kind of game, 28-10.
What you have to do 28-3? You know Dan's a Falcons fan.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
Pollard over long rush could be a good look.
Absolutely,
yeah. I feel like he breaks one.
Yeah.
He's got that burner speed.
Strongly agree with that.
That's not a market I get into much, so I couldn't even make a guess at what that would be priced at. So, be interesting. Yeah. KC at Denver. Do we finally have a Denver total to go over? Because they have not played the Chiefs yet this year.
So
both Chiefs games are late. This is in Kansas or in Denver.
So Buffalo out to 10, Dallas out to 18. No one wants to take the Chiefs out to 10. All right. If we're just gonna lay all the points in the world this week, why not this one? This is probably the one you most want to lay, I would guess. Anyway, I don't have any interest in betting this game. I don't like the Broncos as just even wanting to know what's going on.
Patrick kind of nails it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to bet a Broncos game just because I don't want to care about what's happening in the game at any point in time, regardless of what my bet is. The total got steamed to the over. Huh,
so I have a theory.
It was very low. It was very low for a Kansas City total.
So it's too low for a Kansas City total. And this Broncos team, if you look at it through a lens of the entire season, it is a top defense. If you look at it at a lens through like the last 3 to 4 weeks, it has taken a little bit of a step back. You know, they traded Chubb, they've had some injuries, and just the attrition of nobody's ever going to finish a season being like 25% in the red zone on defense.
Correct.
Like there was going to be some regression from where they're at. So the Chiefs not bringing out the good plays was kind of a worry here, but the fact that they lost last week kind of makes me think that is less of a possibility.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Broncos defense has been a story all year when it probably should have been their offense. Their offense is just so bad.
Yeah.
And they continue to lose wide receivers. It should be, this should probably be 45, even in a game like this. And I still want no part of it. I want no part because the Broncos might not score.
Yeah. Second half under this, like
you're hoping it's 21.
It's 28 now. 28 nothing, and then 0-0 second half. Yeah. That is. I think we've seen that in a Chiefs game. I don't think I'm plucking that out of thin air. They might have done that against the Raiders.
This is one of those where the total the total should be 45. The live total is going to be 51 at some point, and it's going to go under by 10 points.
That is a very, very realistic outcome in my mind as well. I like
you're
that.
Feeling really good about your over, and then in strolls the Chiefs' three-headed monster of knocking out 3 yards per carry. Right. Here's a 17-play, 10-minute field goal drive. It doinks the crossbar from 31. And you have a 0-0 second half. So, I think this is especially if it lends itself to, if the Chiefs come out strong, it definitely lends itself to a second half under.
Yep, we agree on that. There was a game that I feel like we saw almost this exact thing play out, where it was just over at halftime and just a snooze fest in the second half. And I think that's very live here. Not expecting a competitive effort.
Carolina at Seattle. Oof. That game's happening. I didn't have to mow my lawn this week, Drew. It's under a blanket of snow. I don't know. What do you say about this one? Panthers have put some strong efforts together, and they have a decent defense. This is kind of a fun matchup, actually. This might not be a bad game to watch. That said, why are they only 4-point favorites against a team that was, 31st, 32nd in a lot of people power rankings before Rule got fired?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the Panthers are coming off bye. Part of it is the Sam Darnold experience has felt a lot more stable than any of the previous quarterbacking experiences. He does still see ghosts, but it's the market is, I think it's all there's a heat index built into the market. And if we're being honest, it's been a while since the Seahawks did anything that really got us excited. They exceeded expectations, beating some teams in division like the Cardinals when they were dogs, and they were plucky and playing up, particularly in the early part of the season. But it's been a while since we've really seen them, flex. I would expect that they get an ugly win here. I still think the defense is, there's enough flashes that I saw in the first half of the season that they can get back there. Andy's muted it as well, so I'm trying to avoid
are they power washing your
disruption.
sidewalks? That's not a bad. I mean, you can really bring out the shine of that concrete if you clean it up good. But yeah, I think probably like you said with the heat index and off the bye, still like this is one of the last vestiges of home field advantage. Lumen Field, like there is actually some true built-in home field advantage. We've seen Geno struggle a little, but even in those games, he hasn't let it bother him. He's been looking good from behind. Even I worried it was like a front running team where it was like, all right, this team doesn't have the gravel in its guts to come from behind to get some decent games.
These are great quotes. Yeah. You're looking good from behind, gravel in his guts.
Gravel in his guts.
I love this.
Yeah,
man.
we were double muted there.
Yeah,
I have
funny.
a cough. I feel bad coughing.
And I have a lot of external noise, so I apologize. But yes, your points are fair. Panthers with the lead. Love the Seahawks live. Seahawks with the lead. Gonna be just hold on for dear life. Seahawks have had some, even as like over the balance of games, they haven't looked super. Every game's been like oh god, this is so close. Like just come on, pull away, guys. Like last week against the Rams, they are dominating and they are awesome in fourth quarters, which is really cool. And it's just in general makes me excited about the Seahawks generally going forward. I am still I think the Seahawks get a win this week. I don't know if they cover the 4 or not. I think it's still, I'm a little over market in terms of win percentage here, looking at the money line, but much more inclined to break down what's going on with the Niners and how the relative strength between those two teams impacts the NFC West race. And like before moving off the Seahawks, I'm just excited for the possibility that Seattle, San Francisco comes down to like the 4th or 5th tiebreaker, whatever the one that's like common opponents, right?
So
like there's a realistic chance we land there.
Yeah, for divisional teams head to head. So if they split, that goes, and then win percentage within the division, there's a chance that comes down to a couple 4-2 teams. Obviously much more likely if the Seattle were to beat the Niners.
Well, they're 0-2 against them if they don't beat them. So that's
if they don't win that game, it's over.
Yeah.
That is your first tiebreakers head to head. Then I mean, essentially, then the Niners at that point would have like a 3-game lead, which is almost insurmountable. But yes, your third tiebreaker is win percentage in common games.
You know what would be the best? If it comes down to that and the Seahawks win because they beat the Broncos week 1 and the Niners did not in week 3. Those two primetime games were so memorable for all the wrong reasons. And if it comes down to that to decide the NFC West and Seahawks 40-1 comes home on that, oh my God, it's going to be so fun. I think that's very, very, very that's very possible, and that's what I'm rooting for.
Playing New Year's Day, and I think this came up on the preview podcast.
Let's move on to the Niners. Yeah, let's move on to the Niners. But yes, yeah, that one's going to be good. You know what else? Christmas Eve they play the Commanders. That could be for a playoff spot. Realistically, like if Brock Purdy stinks and the Niners lose, like that could be a game that determines who goes to the playoffs, which would be pretty incredible. If Brock Purdy's good and the Niners are winning, then all of a sudden, that game matters less, and then we're thinking about Vegas hangover. But give me your kind of approach to how you would evaluate the right way to price Brock Purdy, and what the realistic win percentage difference would be between having Jimmy G in this game versus having Brock.
I don't know. We looked at this a couple different ways. I know. I think our friend Sports Hack did a good job of just looking at like the EPA per play with Jimmy in compared to the backups, the various backups that have had to be called into action during this. But I think it's going to be a more dramatic drop off as we go. If you understand my meaning. So early on, it's almost like the Mike White situation where, all right, we didn't, especially last year when we really hadn't seen him. We don't know what this game plan is going to be because we know what the Niners have been doing this season with Jimmy G. We can kind of prep for that. It's still Shanahan. He's still going to throw in wrinkles. He's a smart coach, a good offensive schemer. But we can kind of know maybe what 60% of their offense is going to look like for the most part. Now, Shanahan's likely going to have to keep a lot of that. You can't redesign the whole offense in a week. But they're going to be, the sub packages they use and whatever is going to be quite a bit different. I think that's probably bad for Tampa Bay. And I think it's good for, eventually once we get a couple weeks down the road, I think you get to the full this is a 6-point downgrade.
Yeah. Okay.
5. I think I have it as a 5-point downgrade from Jimmy G. And I hate that Jimmy G, that makes it sound like Jimmy G's a good quarterback, but he's still starter level. He's above replacement level. He's fine. And he understands the offense. So I think we see a really good performance this week from all the ancillary pieces of the offense that are not the quarterback. And those are very good pieces. I laid it.
Okay.
Mostly because I think the Bucs are still kind of fraudulent, and also because I'm mad that they won on Monday night. And so not only everything I explained, you have to try to figure out what one of the offensive geniuses of our lifetime is going to do, and you're doing it on a short week, and you're doing it with a set of coaches that I really don't believe in.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't love Tampa this week. I laid 3.5.
All right, we're oppo, and it's not in a good way because I took Bucks money line. So this landing in the middle and us both losing is very, very
Niners by 3.
Very possible. Very possible.
I'd love to hear your argument though.
Okay. I get what you're saying, and yes, there's an element of Purdy doesn't know he's not supposed to be good. And so he's just out there just kind of playing with house money and a little bit of Cooper Rush in him. That's possible. But he's still Mr. Irrelevant. He was still rated as the 10th best quarterback and probably undraftable by a lot of teams in this most recent draft, which means he's not ready to be an NFL starter. This is now independent of the fact that Jimmy G has been serial underrated for his entire career. If you go back and you look at quarterback EPA per dropback, and you take all plays that a quarterback has been involved in, and you go back to 2010, where would you guess Jimmy G ranks in terms of EPA per dropback among all quarterbacks?
How many quarterbacks are in that sample size?
I'm going to take quarterbacks who have had over 500 snaps, so that is 100 quarterbacks.
42.
He is 6th.
I should have guessed higher because they've always had good running games.
Do you want to know what's EPA per dropback?
Oh, this is only dropback.
I thought you said
all plays. I thought you said all plays.
Oh no, every play. This is all. I'm just saying. I'm not segregating it by a certain season or anything. I'm just saying, give me every dropback that the quarterback has had going back to 2010. He is number 6. The quarterbacks who are better than him are Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Pat Mahomes. That's rare air, man. That's elite company. And if you want to say he's only up there because of Shanahan, okay. Well, the Shanahan's other guys that people keep bringing up in the context of Brock Purdy, like Beat Hard, 83rd, Nick Mullins, 38th. Nick Mullins is in the tier.
This is where I'm at. It helps when you have he's always had really good yards after the catch receivers.
How about the year they went to the Super Bowl? His best weapon was George Kittle.
You don't think George Kittle's very good?
No, but he's a tight end. He's a tight end. He's a tight end.
Travis Kelce's a tight end.
Yeah, I mean the scheme gives him a bump, sure, but people are acting like the scheme, like if you look down past Jimmy G, the next guy you're going to see is Nick Mullins, and then after that's going to be Beathard, which means it's all Shanahan. But those guys are way down the board. Like Nick Mullins gave you Mac Jones level EPA per play, EPA per drop back. CJ Beathard gave you Sam Darnold level EPA per drop back. Like I don't know what people are remembering about those players, but it wasn't great.
And I would say that both of those times when those players were in, they didn't have nearly the wealth of weapons that they have right now. Like this is one of those where the surrounding cast is. I agree with you. I think, and like I said, I think it's a 5-point downgrade. At the same time, there's just so many pieces around him. Like, and Sam's pointing out, like Tampa Bay defends the middle of the field really well. They have good coverage linebackers. Like, there's so much going on in the run scheme, and like you can make this Brock Purdy neutral. Like, it doesn't matter. Just rely on your receivers to make plays. Rely on 3 running backs. Yeah. Just make it happen.
There is another side to this particular handicap, which you brought up, which I am definitely aware of. And that is the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching staff is hot garbo. That said, we know what Todd Bowles wants to do. He wants to bring pressure. The San Francisco offensive line is average. Brock Purdy is going to be feeling heat in this game, and he is going to have to operate quickly. He's going to have to operate quickly, and Shanahan may give him the easy buttons to press and this offense may be successful, and the Buccaneers defense may look like trash. That's possible. But I love the idea of aggressive Todd Bowles defense against a rookie quarterback behind an average O-line. And I think at halftime of the Buccaneers-Saints game, when we were almost right, very, very, very close to being correct. But one of the things we kind of pointed out to as a reason to kind of get involved there in the Saints was who's going to rally this Bucs team, right? Like they're lacking leadership.
Turned out Mark Ingram.
No, it was fucking Brady. It was obviously Brady. And like that was the obvious answer. Like, yeah, it wasn't going to be the coaching staff. It was literally going to have to be Brady forcing, and Brady was going to have to elevate his own performance. And I think he did to a large degree. I thought he played much, much better in the final 4 minutes of that game than we have seen him play basically all season. And maybe he carries that form into this game. We know he certainly has a chip on his shoulder playing against the Niners. I think it was going to be fun to handicap this one if it was Brady versus Jimmy G, but I still think in general Brady going up against the Niners defense is going to be a fun match. It's going to be a fun matchup. Chris Godwin's healthy. Certainly like the way that the Niners defended the Dolphins was pretty, in hindsight, was a no fucking brainer. Like, get really physical with their small, fast wide receivers and let your pass rush go bananas. And that was a solid plan. It worked well. That's not going to work against the Niners. Against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers have much more physical wide receivers to work with. And in general, I think that they're moving away a little bit from Hey, did I just get nuked or did we all get nuked? You're muted, Andy. You're muted.
Oh shit. No, yeah. Oh man, I said some stuff. You're lucky I'm muted. I talked some shit about you while you were gone.
Yeah, I saw Dan got bumped and then I got bumped.
Yeah, I didn't get bumped out.
That's weird.
Blame the Gardeners. All right, let's move on to the last one.
Just final thought though. Like Tom Brady, you're not worried about him kind of having a better matchup against this particular Niners defense than we saw with Tua last week?
I'm worried if he gets down and he decides that they get to play 2-minute defense or 2-minute offense, but generally the game plan, the regular game plan for the Buccaneers sucks. And they're only good when they were pressed and had to go into, hey, we're abandoning the run. And then from the standpoint of like the pass rush, if we're sitting here knowing about, Tampa Bay likes to put pressure on the quarterback, and I feel like Shanahan knows as well. And there's going to be, it's not maybe he gives Purdy the easy button. He has to. Like, he knows this. So I think it'll be interesting, but there's definitely a case for some Tampa Bay second half if they're trailing. I like Tampa Bay much better as a trailing team. Okay. They're terrible as a front runner.
All right, let's move on to Sunday Night Football. Congrats to everybody who's going to land in the middle there between laying the points and taking the money line.
But yeah, what are the chances a team wins by 3? 9%.
Dolphins Chargers is an interesting flex. I guess this was a good choice. It looked better on paper when they made the choice because the Chargers were in a little bit better state. Now they have one of the worst offensive lines in the history of football. And the Dolphins pass rush should be able to get home. Chargers also struggling to field wide receivers that can make a difference. Chargers also struggling to stop the run game. Now, it's not a perfect puzzle piece here where the Dolphins' strengths fit into the Chargers' weaknesses in a way that I'm dying to lay the points with the Dolphins on a bounce back spot. But I would expect the Dolphins to score here. And I would expect that the Chargers are going to look miserable at times offensively because that's who they are right now. 3.5 is fair for me. That's my number. Total 51.5 is a little low, but not enough.
4.
You make it 4? Okay.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins kind of decide, especially in a place where I talked about Lumen being the last vestige of home field. SoFi has never had home field unless it's been an away team with a bunch of good. And as Skyfish brings up, it's going to be a weird moment for the podcast listeners. When you just left and then I started talking on mute and then you came back.
Double mute twice.
Well, they're definitely going to like pull their phone up and it's still playing.
What? We got to put background music on, I guess, for this one. Yeah. Oh, well. The mismatch here for the Dolphins wide receivers against the Chargers secondary looks solid to you. I think Derwin James is a question mark to play. That would be huge. If James doesn't go, I think this absolutely moves to 4. At that point, I'm probably playing Dolphins team total over.
Yeah, that's not a bad look. I like that a lot. I like the Fins. I like the Fins to score. I like the over. Bad, like you said, bad home fields. Horrible offensive line. Not that the Dolphins pass rush has been special, but it's been getting better, especially with their addition. And yeah, like you said, if Derwin James is out, everything that the 49ers did last week to stop the Dolphins and make them less successful on offense are just things the Chargers can't do, I guess. I mean, yeah, the pass rush is kind of there, but for the most part, this should be a much, much, much easier test. Should we make the Dolphins team total our secret pod play? Skyfish wants it.
Either that or Giants under. Which one's better to you?
Skyfish.
Giants under is 19. Miami over is 27.5.
Can I have 2?
Which do you like better?
I'm going to play them both.
Okay. All right. We'll check in with you on Sunday and see how we did. We'll have one result. We won't have the both. We actually. Then speaking of, we're gonna do our next pod on Monday. Does that work for you?
Oh yeah, you got some travel as well.
Yeah, I'll be flying home on Sunday.
So you mentioned tonight. Are you not going to be able to do halftime tonight?
I think I'm going to. I'm trying to get to I'm flying on red eye, so I'm probably going to be at the airport in time to do it. But there's a chance I'll be driving to the airport, in which case I will be out.
Okay. Well, let me know.
Okay. Do you want to call it off right now? Pull the plug?
Yeah, we might as well. Let's get
you're recovering. I'm traveling. Let's call it off. Actually, or in the blind, I want second half under in the blind.
All right. Yeah. If you're listening to this early or you're here with us right now, second half under.
Second half under 21.5.
Especially if either team is up by a decent amount, then I like it even more. So All right.
I dig.
God damn it. Dan just said in the chat, it's actually going to be funnier because he's going to cut out that long gap, and then the audience is going to think you're gaslighting them. You guys were here live. You know what happened. But, this is a good pod. We kept it kind of short. There's 6 teams on bye. This is the end of the bye weeks, I believe. So a little longer podcast next week as we have every team playing. We have some fun, like Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. There's Saturday standalone games. The NFL is going to, the way the schedule has worked out this year, it's going to be really fun. I'm excited for the holidays.
Yeah. Some of the matchups are bad, but some of them are awesome.
Okay.
Did you see the Christmas Day games?
Yeah. I don't care.
Watch some NBA at Christmas
It's the same
Day.
thing. Like, I've watched a lot of shitty Thanksgiving Day games. I don't care. Like, you give me standalone NFL games. You could put the 2 worst teams in London. I would get up at 8:30 to watch. I'm up anyway. I'm not sleeping.
Like Denver versus Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'll watch that shit all the time. So, yeah, you're welcome for I'm going to play the thing again. Afternoon delight. I like how it doesn't fit the screen.
Oh, it's good. They don't even try.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to the and we got a new Eric Chernoff drop in 10 minutes, says Ricky Flower. That's not Ricky Flower.
And Eric Chernoff is not his name, it's Adam.
Yeah, it's
but
Adam,
that's okay.
right?
I don't get
I'm
the
100%.
joke.
I know we were
it.
mentioning this, like there's for some reason there's like inside jokes in the chat that even we don't get.
Yeah.
So that's why we love you guys. So hit the thumbs up on the way out.
All right.
Appreciate you all. We'll see you Monday.
Monday.
Sunday at the Metrodome. 8 trucks, 8 butts.
I was watching
Monster Jam.
I was watching some Monster Truck yesterday. It was on TV, and I was
completely
captivated.
all the time.
Just captivated.